Hello peeps, today we have a project we're working on. Today we're working on an anchor buoy. Now, for those of you who've dropped the hook, you understand that sometimes that damned anchor gets stuck. So you can tie a line to the head of the anchor, and when you pull on that line, it pulls the teeth out of the mud or the ground or under a rock or whatever you're stuck in. Okay? How do you get to that line? Well, you need a little buoy on it. And I did some research and came across a nice, very simple design. And I'm going to show you how I'm doing it. First, we're going to start out with one of these little fenders. Little ring hole on the bottom and the top. And the other piece of material you'll need is a single block. Nothing fancy. Old is fine. Worn out is fine. It's not like it's hauling a load like a sail or anything like that. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to tie this to the bottom here. Alright? This is what your buoy line is going to go through. On the top here, we're going to have a line in there too, and it's going to be a ring. Just a circular ring, probably about 3 or 4 inches in diameter. Why are we doing that? Well, the line on the top is real simple. When you come up to your buoy and you want to grab the damn thing, that little eyelet hole on the top, how are you going to get a gaff through there? You're not, admit it. But a small 3 or 4 inch diameter line, loop through there, you can hook that pretty easy. And then you can pull your buoy out of the water and stay dry. On the bottom, you're going to have a line where this block is tied through. You're going to have a line going through the block. Okay, that'll be tied down here. One end of the line is going to go to the anchor head, and the other is going to go to about a 1 pound weight. Now you can get an inexpensive weight, a diving weight, an old diving weight, lead weight or something, just an inexpensive, not affected by water type weight. Okay? And what that does is that keeps, first of all, the weight keeps the buoy vertical in the water, so you can see it. If a buoy like that is laying flat, sometimes visibility is a problem. The other thing that thing does with a pulley, it adjusts for the tide. So if you have, I think the Keys is like about a 1.5, 2 foot high tide, when it goes up or down, your buoy's still going to be right above the head of the anchor, because as the tide goes down, the weight drops, takes up the excess line, and keeps that line vertical over the anchor head. So that means wherever that buoy is where your anchor is, and your anchor is well marked. And when that buoy is sitting vertical, well, easy to spot. Now, this was a white buoy, and all I did was took some cheap yellow, or I should say fluorescent orange, spray paint, automobile spray paint. I've sprayed it. The downside is with the weather and the salt, that doesn't last very long. The upside is, hey, can of spray paint, that little fluorescent there, well, it's cheap. This was, I think, $2 or $3. Pretty cheap. So if you're able to find an orange fender, use it, because it's native color. But I had a white one. It was a leftover, so I'll use that. So let me put this together and I'll show you the finished product. Oh, one other thing. See the end of that rope? See, that's a problem. That's what this is for. We're just going to burn right through that. And melt the ends. It's nylon, so it'll all melt nicely. I'll let you know as I go. So you're going to have a line going to your buoy, and from the buoy going to the anchor. The real question for you is how long? Okay? That question has a very simple answer. How deep do you anchor in? Okay? Boats like mine, we never really anchor much deeper than 30 feet. Okay? So if you want the buoy on the surface and your anchor 30 feet or less, then your line has to be 30 feet. Now, if it's shallower, say 20 feet, well, the weight's going to pull down and keep that buoy vertical. So a 30-footer line can anchor in 15 to 30 feet. Okay, so my line, I'm going to do probably a 20-footer because I do 20 feet or less on my anchoring. So let's take a look. What I've done is the line, went ahead and taped off the end. The other end I cooked off, but let's measure it. A little windy out here, sorry about that. Okay, so this is a 25-foot tape measure. Let's see how long of a line I got. This one's 17 feet. My original line was only 17 feet. I want at least 20. So that'll give me an anchor range of 10 to 20 feet deep. Okay? I don't think any other boats are going to anchor in 10 feet or less near me. Just because of the swing on the anchor. But what we did was we took an additional line. On the end of that line, I got a little brass connector. That's what I'm going to clip onto the head of the anchor with. And then on this line, we're going to feed it through the pulley and do a Bowman knot around a weight. So let's measure it out. Okay, there you go. Now you got your pulley on the bottom of your buoy. Why don't you take a close look at the knot here, what I did. I got the knot tied, and then I melted the ends together. Now, if this is going to come off, it's going to come off, but only with the use of a knife. Because those two lines are now melted together, so this knot won't untie. As a rule of thumb, I normally use a bowline, but a bowline just didn't seem to work on this one, because a bowline's functionality requires tension on one end of that line to kind of keep that knot tight. And if you don't have tension on one end of that line, not the best knot. So I did a square knot on here, and then I did one additional on top of the square and melted the ends together. Don't care if you don't like it. Anyway, so your pulley is mounted, and minimal chafing and so forth. So the buoy is going to sit in the water like this with a pulley on the bottom side, and we'll continue on. So on the head of my anchor, I use a Fortress FX11. All I'm going to do on the head of that anchor is tap a 1/4 inch hole through the head of the anchor, and that's so that this I can clip into the hole, all right, and clip onto the head of the anchor with the bottom end of the line. This, of course, is brass, doesn't rust, and I mean, you know, the knot, you know, it's going to hold. And so, although I might redo this with a bowline. I like bowlines a whole lot better than those. This is your buoy, okay? We're simulating a lead diving weight on here, a 1-pounder, with this. But you can see as the tide goes up, the weight goes down, or excuse me, as the tide goes out, it gets shallower, the weight goes lower, still stays vertical, and vice versa. That's the purpose. So your functionality is pretty simple. Okay, you have the weight pulling down, keeping tension in the line between the buoy and the anchor. Very cheap, very effective, and nice bright buoy in the water means nobody will mistake where your anchor is, and nobody will anchor on top of it, at least if they have any manners.